We had to find ways to bring the customer to that product and to that price point because it was unheard of. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get this business to just actually make money? We were told if we didn't come up with 20 grand, we'd have to sell our house. I actually was just like, fuck this. No one is taking this from us. I don't believe in work-life balance when it comes to being successful in business. It's a load of bullshit. So I walked away from my desk and didn't go back for 2 months. Oh, the world didn't end and the business didn't fail. The business actually thrived. 2 of our products, raspberry no granola, became the number 1 in dollars selling muesli in New Zealand. You imagine if we'd gone to market, and that could have taken a year. What I also said to Tasty was this due diligence has to be done in 6 weeks. I remember the day we had to tell our staff. One of them called out and said, is this an April Fool's joke? Because we told them on the 1st of April. They were devastated. Everyone was crying.
May I ask that question about the cancer journey?
It humbled me. Yeah, I was like, I could die.
Today's conversation is with Kaz Staples, the serial with a C entrepreneur, author of a book, and an incredible founder. She's battled so much through the course of her journey, from cancer to near business death to a whole lot of time with all of her family seeming to get ill and friends dying around her. And so she's got a wonderful journey that she shares with us today. Fascinating, insightful, and very, very inspiring. So please enjoy the show. Kaz Staples, founder of Pure Delish. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So you were famously described by buyers of a supermarket chain as having rocks in your head, and yet you managed to convince them that they should take on a highly priced, very unique, categorized kind of product. Is sales one of your superpowers, or did you manage to hypnotize a whole bunch of people?
Yes, sales is a superpower. Yeah, I can sell ice to an Eskimo vibe. Yeah, the rocks in your head came from, I think, trying to enter a market or a category that was very established in terms of just breakfast cereal on shelf, but trying to sell the product for 3 times what was the most expensive, which was probably Hubbard's, was just kind of considered the high-end premium back then. And so, yes, I had to convince buyers that this cereal at $15 a bag and not $5, why? You know, the unique selling, the uniqueness of that product and why.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was years and years ongoing in the making to do that, right?
What possessed you to kind of go into a space and then have something which was triple the agreed upon value by consumers and by manufacturers and by buyers in the supermarket chains? What possessed you to do that?
So because for many years, I started off a Christmas cake business, selling Christmas cakes at the market, selling Christmas cakes to corporates at Christmas, the big Pfizer pharmaceutical. One year they took 5,000 cakes or something. It was huge. And my Christmas cakes were super high end, full of nuts and cherries and fruit and all the good stuff, the real brandy, and they were covered in nuts and seeds all on the top. So I suppose I was sitting, my head was in a space where the only thing I can do is top end. I suppose being a foodie as well, a love of food, a love of good things. So we were Delish Fine Foods, and I was like, so how am I going to take this brand to every day? How am I going to stop it being a seasonal business? I was burnt out because I was working pretty much full-time throughout the year, then starting out in October, making thousands and thousands of Christmas cakes. One year I had a couple of thousand cakes in my home, and we had an ant infestation. Yeah. So I was up all night watching the cakes to make sure the ants didn't eat the cakes. Anyway, so that's where the cereal super premium came on. And then that was 2005, around that time. And thought about selling the business just as a seasonal brand. And then Farrow came along, Janine and James Draper, amazing, successful couple who created the Farrow brand. And Janine was a client of mine at the frock shop where I worked. at the fashion store. So I've got a bit of a fashion background, which worked so well because I love beautiful things and I love to sell and I love building relationships. So it was actually an incredible synergy as well, even though it was very different to manufacturing food. And she just said, we need a high-end cereal. And I was like, well, I reckon I've got one for you. So it was just kind of bizarre timing. My brain had been going there, and then she was like, we need a cereal. I was like, great, I've got one for you. So literally pulled that together in a few weeks, and the rest is history.
And the first version was not gluten-free, I recall. It's near and dear to my heart as a glutard. So you started with a single product and then expanded beyond there?
Which is an interesting one, because if you're gluten intolerant, you probably can tolerate oats. Oats are not gluten containing, but they are manufactured in environments where gluten is present.
It's been my experience, so.
Yeah. So you can get gluten-free oats, but they're hard to get in New Zealand. So yes, that gluten-free wasn't the thing back then. It was very, rare. When I say rare, there was lots of people probably who were, but it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it was very niche.
So it didn't really come up for me. So yeah, the original Chunky Nut Muesli, which is still one of the top selling cereals today, in the brand, and they've got dozens of them now. But lots of nuts, lots of seeds. I'm like, right, let's just make a cereal that's going to taste delicious with all the good things, honey and beautiful olive oil and quality nuts. We put Brazil nuts and almonds, and then I'll just see how much it's going to cost us. And that's where the price landed. And I was like, whoa, that's expensive, but it's amazing.
It is.
And so, yeah, that's what we did. And then we had to build we had to find ways to bring the customer to that product and to that price point, because it was unheard of.
And so Farro won't allow you to scale into a multi-million-dollar business by itself, selling a range of cereal and other bits and pieces, nut bars and those sort of things, which came along later. So how did you make the transition from there into the mainstream, the dark side supermarkets?
Yeah, the dark side. So, yeah, we had Farro, but we also had more Wilsons in Wellington, who, I just want to honour and acknowledge them, because they are incredible support for our brand from day one. And Wellington in itself really supported Pure Delish from a very young age. And one of the buyers there, David, was there 20 years and has only recently left, we became very, very good mates, and they were just amazing. So we had them, we had Farro, we had Nosh, who were around for a while. And yeah, then we're like, right, we've got to go to the dark side. We need the supermarkets, which again is a whole new introduction to a type of business, right? I mean, FMCG is fast-moving consumer goods. So we basically just turned up at Albany Newark, and we'd heard that you could go through the back door, so to speak, to start with. So we hadn't even been to head office. We just went to the deli, and we met Donna. And she loved our product. She's like, sure, Kaz, I'll put some in the deli. So there we were above the cheese. And it was hilarious. And they sold. Yeah. And eventually there was a fight between the deli and the main grocery, because eventually we had to get into grocery. And then there's this whole thing in the supermarkets, because they all had their own little areas. And of course, Donna didn't want it going out of the deli. It was doing well. And then the buyer in the grocery is like, I want it over here. I mean, it was a great problem to have. Yeah, I'm fast forwarding, but I'll say this because I might forget. But you fast forward to 2016, and two of our products, the raspberry no granola, became the number one in dollars, selling muesli in New Zealand.
Amazing. It's my favourite product, by the way.
Yeah. And the original Chunky Nut, I think, was number 2 or 3. So that proves, that my hard work, commitment, educating consumers, educating buyers, bringing something like that to market that did not exist, we got to that.
Yes, yeah. There was obviously a lot of belief in the space which you were creating as well in the background. And so...
Only by me.
Yeah, right. At the start, it would have felt like that.
It felt like that, and it was that.
Yeah. Did you have moments that you were questioning that belief and the path that you'd chosen?
you're questioning how I was going to get this business to be successful. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get this business to just actually make money, to get to a tipping point? But I really believed in the products. And I think that's what won me in the end. I was like, these are amazing. We just have to get people to understand the value that's behind them and for their health and well-being and why they're more expensive. Most of the time, things are more expensive because they're better. It's not because you're trying to get ripped off.
Is that ubiquitous in the food space, do you believe? Because if I compare that with, say, consumer brands, for example, Gucci is probably not necessarily a whole lot better quality than Adidas if you're talking about trainers. I own both sets of those types of things. But in food, I wonder if that probably is true. So, the base of the ingredients and what's collated into making a product. Yeah, okay.
And because of the way it's sold as well, you think the traditional way, sitting on a supermarket shelf, there's kind of a price in a certain category that gets set. So with Pure Delish, we created that category and then we set the price. And then everyone else who entered that category sets the price. There's not a lot of margin in these products, because the supermarket takes their share and it takes you X to manufacture. So there's nowhere to hide, so to speak. Whereas with a fashion brand, it's all about the brand, Gucci.
Yes.
You're walking around, well, I'm going to pay $1,000 for that instead of $100 because I want it,
Yeah, I want to be associated with that brand and that cachet, so to speak.
Saying that, I really feel that Pure Delish became that brand in a sense, as in, if you're having people over and they're staying the weekend and you bring out the Pure Delish, it gives people go, oh, they've got Pure Delish.
Yeah.
They've got good taste, or
Definitely.
they're doing all right.
Definitely premium,
yes. Which is what I wanted to create as well.
Yes.
Feeling really special and feeling fabulous for a whole lot of reasons when you're consuming it and buying it.
Yes. May not be a question that you can necessarily answer, but I'm going to ask it nonetheless. If we have, say, a $10 product, which is at a retail price point in the supermarket, what's the approximate breakdown of the supermarket margin versus the manufacturers versus if there's a distributor involved? How would that kind of margin be broken up?
Distributors a different model, depending. So if you're selling to a distributor, you'd sell to a distributor at the wholesale price, and they'd probably add 40%, charge you 40% for that. So for example, if a product's selling for $10, you might sell it to the supermarket, and this is just ballpark, for $6.
So they've got quite a lot of the margin.
They want more and more. 35 to 40.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yep.
And so,
then there's a whole lot of hidden costs as well.
Yes.
That you have, they're in there as well.
Yes.
And it's interesting when people talk about prices going through the roof and food, and I get that with products and products and ingredients that are not set, like say vegetables, even meat and dairy. They're all depends on a whole lot of things. Whereas with a product like Pure Delish or Wildly that we have now, it is the price. We can't, we're not having price increases. We haven't had a price increase with Wildly since we entered the supermarket 35 years ago.
Yeah, well.
But our costs are a lot higher.
Yes. Ergo, lesser margins. Back to Donna at New World.
Donna at the deli.
Albany. So you managed to then get, I'm guessing, into the foodstuffs group.
Yep. I remember that day, that phone call where they said you've finally been accepted. So you have to be accepted at head office. It was easier back then, but you still got to go through all the forms. You've got to have a full food and safety program, which has to be audited. And basically, whether you're McDonald's or whether you're a tiny small business, it's same. So there's a lot of cost to that as a manufacturer, which is again why a lot of people contract manufacture. But I'm a maker, I'm a baker, that's part of the love and the passion for me. I couldn't have a brand. I shouldn't say never, but I wouldn't choose to have a brand that was just the marketing of the brand. For me, it's the essence of making it that's so special. So
And so that first phone call came through, elation, that meant nationwide distribution. Was that the step change that happened?
No, that's not unfortunately how it works. So with foodstuffs, which is New Zealand, sort of like a co-op, you get range at head office, and then you go into each individual store, which is owned by its own owner-operator, and it's still like that to this day, and you sell your product to them, and they choose whether they want to put it on shelf. Today, there's a lot more complexity, so you can get range that stores have to take certain products of yours, but you generally are quite Pure Delish would be in that position. But a smaller brand like Wildly, no, because we don't have the numbers. Mostly, you're recommended, which means the store can choose to take you or not. How they feel on the day, what sort of demographic their store, whether they think it'll sell it, whether they've got room, whether they haven't. It's a lot harder now. It's a lot harder. It's harder. But it wasn't easy back then. So yeah, we did that. So then in some ways too, you go into the individual. So you go to the stores that are the low-hanging fruit. So let's go to Vic Park New World, Ringawera New World, Easter's New World. Let's go to all the stores that are high demographic that we know that the product will sell, and let's build some credibility. Let's build some numbers. Then we can go to the other stores like the Pororo New Worlds and the Upper Hutt and the Lower, all the stores around that you think aren't as.
Yes.
What's fascinating with Pure Delish, which has been great for me with Wildly, is that just because a store isn't necessarily a high demographic doesn't mean your product won't go well. It's obviously never going to do the same numbers, but there's people out there, like you say, who are gluten-free, dairy-free, have various allergies, just want high quality or on a health bent, and they will understand and see the quality and buy it and choose that. So you've got to be really careful never just to think, oh, that store won't sell a product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have entrepreneurs, people that want to start a business, or people with small businesses that watch this show. And so you've been successfully selling into the duopoly for many, many years now. And you mentioned that there's been quite a shift and a change. But if there was someone who was an artisanal food producer right now, and if there was like 2 or 3 things that you could suggest to them that would be really, really helpful for them to be able to expand from their small niche, farmers market, farrows, whatever it might be, to help them get that next step up, what would the 2 or 3 kind of hacks for that person be? If they did exist, they may not, because it might be 10 things that you need to do super well. So
again, there's so many layers, right, to that conversation. I mean, if your product has been successful at the markets, or these days you can, online as well, is another conversation we can have, because we're really in that space now. So I would say, probably now what I would say was there's other ways to trial your product and get your product known to market before going into the supermarkets. Saying that as well, people are terrified of the supermarkets, and they should be, but also maybe don't be.
Right.
Particularly with foodstuffs, because really with progressives, which is Woolworths now, we're Countdown, when you go in there, you get a set amount of stores that you're in. So if you're a tiny little producer and they take you, which they wouldn't, because they don't take small producers really anymore, you've got to have a lot more credibility for them to even consider. So they're very risk averse. You might upscale your business, and then suddenly they're like, didn't work. We don't want you, and you're pulled from 60 stores. So I get why you're scared, but at the same time, don't be scared.
Yeah.
But I would say now, do your markets, do your independents, and can you sell online? Because now the digital space you can't ignore it.
Yes. I would distill that down, if I can just relay back to you and see if I've missed anything. So the first is having unfailing, or at least not regularly failing, belief in yourself and what you're doing. Have a great product that you're taking out to the market. Get a brand, which is like a strong and a positive and a recognized brand, potentially as well.
And that takes time, right?
Of course.
And today you can do it a lot faster.
Yes.
Because we have the digital space. We have social media.
Influencers, etc.
Influencers, paid advertising, which you can get to hundreds of thousands of people. Whereas when back in the day with Pure Delish, none of that existed.
Yes.
So, but that also makes it more competitive.
Yeah.
and I was listening to a podcast from the founder of Kiki.
Oh, yes.
Amazing woman. And she said it's sort of easier entry now, but it makes it harder because there's more competition. And who are you? What are you? People just bring out a brand and they think, oh, I better sell it online because I'm a guru in the digital space, right? I'm a guru. I can just, but then the product or the service is average and it fails.
Yes. And the last thing you mentioned there was getting some existing traction through some form of retailer, probably online, direct-to-consumer, would be an option.
And there's lots of independent stores out there still too.
Yes.
Lots of great independents who I love those customers,
So back to an inflection point, which is a key part of the Kaz story, is that GFC happened, you were building a business, there was a groundswell of people moving into premium products, which was a space, a category that you had a strong hand in creating in New Zealand. And then you had a moment where it all looked like it was going to fall down around you, it was going to get burnt down around you. So tell us about that.
The GFC, yeah. Man, that was a crazy time, wasn't it? I think because I was in the thick of it, and we were financially up the wazoo and on the precipice of, on that tightrope. Whereas this one we're in a different position, but I still see a lot of carnage. I mean, so much carnage, right? So yeah, we were told basically if we didn't come up with 20 grand, we'd have to sell our house. We were insolvent because we'd bought a house in 2007, I think end of 2007, early 2008, even just fell out of the sky. So our home was valued 30% less than what we'd paid for it. We were quite heavily geared with our businesses. Dave had a business. I had, Pure Delish, and we were just really trying so hard to get to that tipping point. So yeah, I kind of had that light bulb moment, like we talked offline, and it sounds really cliche, but I actually was just like, fuck this. No one is taking this from us, and our boys were sort of maybe not quite teens, but in that era, early teens. And I was like, no, we have worked too hard for this. So yeah, just the resilience and the determination. And I was like, nothing's going to stop me, which is, comes down to, I don't believe in work-life balance when it comes to being successful in business. It's a load of bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Even now. And I'm nowhere near have as much capacity and energy and drive that I did back then. But it's a lot of work. You can't sit back and expect your business to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of it as being a table stakes. If someone says to me when they're pitching for money and they use the I work really hard to get a solution thing, I'm like, that's a table stake in foundership. If you do not work hard, you will never ever succeed at this thing. I would say at most things, to be honest. I have the same mentality that find something that you're great at, hopefully that you love doing, and then that doesn't feel like it's work day to day, but also be prepared to go harder, faster, for longer than the person who's next to you. Picking up on the Kiki founder, I agree wholeheartedly with that. It's way easier to start a business today, but it's so much harder to get cut through.
That's right.
And to get traction in any given market. And so if you're not prepared to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, I'm sorry, like that's just a basic table stake to get a business out of the ground and get it going. You may not have to do that forever. I'm not advocating that that's all you do with your life, but that's something which others are more likely to be prepared to do. And so if you're not, then you're going to be left behind because you will have half as much time as the next person dedicated to that thing.
I say to any young, or not young, any person wanting to start a business or has started a business, wants to grow the business, the first thing I say is be careful what you wish for. Like, honestly, you be very careful what you wish for. And you can have anything you want. You can't have it all at once. Right? You cannot have it all at once. I sacrifice a lot of family time. And my kids today say, Mum, you're the best mum, ever. And what you gave us was so much more. But I still look back, and luckily Dave, incredible dad. And was always around because he also was an entrepreneur and had a business. So, you can, even though you're working so hard, you've got more flexibility than a corporate job. So he'd be the one, doing all the sports stuff and would be tag teaming. He'd be getting home and I'd be going off to work at 6 p.m. and, he'd be in the drive and I'd be leaving. And, that was our life.
Yes.
For a long time.
So your boys, are they in the workforce now? And if so, they've seen both of their parents be founders and both the grueling nature of it, but also the rewards that can be present when you do succeed at doing it.
And they saw the reward of Pure Delish as adults, and that was a beautiful thing.
Yes. So have they chosen the safe salaried path, or are
No.
what are they?
So Tom, our eldest, he's 31, married to a most beautiful, amazing woman. And they live in Auckland. She's English. But he works, runs a business with my husband and roller racks. So they do roof racks and roof boxes and all sorts. So that's a amazing little small business. So Tom runs that. And then Elliot, our other son, who's 29, lives in Vancouver with his beautiful partner, and they're expecting a baby, and he has a digital marketing agency. He's very driven, very entrepreneurial. But they both saw that. And I think it scared them. And Elliot often says, it's all your fault, Mum, that I've got nearly burnout. I'm not even 30.
Susie McAlpine, good friend of mine, she wrote the book Beyond Burnout. It was a subject that it's been kind of trending in New Zealand over the last few years. It's a New Zealand specific case study and a bunch of really relevant stories for New Zealand. And so have you at any stage, given your propensity for incredible hard work, your interest in doing things like CrossFit, competing as well on the side, raising a family, it's a full plate, right?
It's a full plate.
Have you, and I'd like to talk to you about the cancer journey if that's okay, but separating that out, have you rubbed up against burnout at any stage?
Yes, for sure. I think probably the burnout was when I got breast cancer for the first time.
As in, that was a manifestation of burnout, potentially?
Potentially. Whether, as in it just stopped me in my tracks. And, I did have a few people say something had to stop you.
I have a bit of a fatalistic tendency about me. And so the manifestation of that is everything happens for a reason.
100%. And what I see and what I say for myself is there's a silver lining to everything. Even the worst tragedies, there's a silver lining. So I walked away from my desk and didn't go back for 2 months, right? And in those days, there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of things were done on paper. I suppose it's only 10 years ago, but still there was a lot of that going on. And the world didn't end and the business didn't fail. The business actually thrived in my absence. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not as amazing and special, as important as I thought. Because, I was very controlling. Because when I say controlling, I don't mean that in a negative narcissistic way, but that's the only way I knew to be successful was to control everything. I mean, in some ways, if it had happened 2 or 3 years before, it could have been very different. We could be in a different position now.
I have a question which I've trained myself to ask in the unfortunate circumstance situation, and it's easy to not for me necessarily, although I have had this occasionally, fall into the victim. Why has this happened to me? And I've had a reframing of that question, which is, why has this happened for me? So that's the silver lining piece. May I ask that question of you about the cancer journey? So twice in and out, the treatment program that you had to go through, the surgeries that were a result of the treatment program as well. So why do you think that happened for you?
I think, again, a big part of it was, I believe because I had to stop, and it's almost like the universe saying, I'm going to make you stop, and that's very simplistic, but in a way, when I look back, yes. And it created opportunities. It brought Dave sooner into the business. It made us make decisions that were far more important. We assessed where we wanted to go with the business, what we wanted from it, how it was going to pan out, what I needed to do in order to keep myself well. And I learned that unless I'm well and healthy, and I thought I was, I was a CrossFit ninja and super healthy and all that, but was I? And I was getting into my 40s, perimenopause, and you don't have the same, your body's not coping as well as you think, but I just push it all to the side because I was like, I can steamroll through anything and everything.
Yes. Yeah, type A personalities have that tuck the ears back, let's just keep on going, and we'll work our way through this, no matter the circumstance.
It humbled me because I thought I'd never, I was never someone I thought who'd get sick, or I never worried about getting cancer or anything like that. But yeah, I was like, fuck, I could die. I could die, right? This is serious. So yeah, that was a silver lining. So there's a lot of positives that came from it. The team again, I had the most incredible team that I'd built. I'd built this team who loved me and I loved them. So when this happened, they just wrapped around me.
Amazing. What a great experience to be able to go through.
Like unbelievable. And of course, my husband, my number one supporter.
Yes.
And my kids. And,
yes. You mentioned control. Our researcher dug up control freak, I think was a word that you might have used perhaps in your book. I call myself a recovering control freak. So these are tendencies that I can very much relate to. I think what I've made it mean, by the way, is that early on in a entrepreneur, in a founder journey, you kind of need to have some tendencies like that.
Yes.
Because you need to have your hands all over everything and be really aware of the levers that you can pull inside the business, the effort that needs to get put into something, what it takes to do a good job at something so you can hire for those things.
Absolutely.
Then you reach a certain stage and that doesn't serve you anymore. I have a mantra which served me well. If it is to be, it's up to me. And that was in the early days of my founding my first business and also as an individual contributor before I went on to lead teams. And then I had a simple reframing, which is, if it is to be, it's up to we. As that then become, right, just a real simple change of a word, right?
Yeah.
How have you gotten over your control tendencies, if I can?
No, absolutely. I think one is just energy.
Go on.
Literally not having the energy to be as controlling as I was, because I haven't got the capacity or the energy to do it. Also, experience, wisdom, understanding that I can't do it all, and I've always known this, and I know it now with the business we're in now, is your people are everything. The right people in your business that you can bring along for the journey is make or break. And I look back at Pure Delish and I have a whole chapter on my people. All of them I love still to this day. They all call me boss if they ever see me, so, hey boss, so yeah, you get out what you put in. I'm a real believer in that in a business. Yeah, you're as good as your people, but it doesn't mean I still think, oh, God, why can't they all just think how I think or do what, can't they just see what I see? But that's why you're the boss, and that's why you're the entrepreneur, and that's why you're the visionary, and if you can get people who are going to do 80% of that, but then again, I'm useless at some things. I'm not good at some things, and other people are so much better. And that's also cool, and recognize that, right? Get out of the way and let your staff do their job.
Yes. You mentioned energy, and if I relate that to the control and then involving others in that as well, one of the realities is if you constrain your people too much by controlling what they do, then you're not getting the most out of those people. And so you're preventing them from experiencing the growth that they could potentially have with you and for themselves and for the business, right? So that those things all work in beautiful conjunction and in harmony. And there's a little pithy phrase that I have, which is, why would you buy a dog and then bark for it? Which I see people do so often. They hire someone who's talented and capable and they clip their wings, or they constrain too much of how they go about doing the job. Michael Hyatt wrote a beautiful little one-page article that I read at one stage, and it was either the 4 or the 5, I can't remember, levels of delegation. And he breaks it down in a really, really simple format. I'll talk to the first and the fifth because this is something that I advocate to people all the time. The first level is I will tell you what to do and I will tell you how to do it and when to get it done by. So there's absolutely no authority that that person has. Level 5 is we're just going to agree upon the outcome. And then you go away and make it all happen for me.
And then there's somewhere in the middle.
Right. And you can step your way through those things. And so I love that as a framework because when you're clear with the individual about which it is that you're communicating from and what the next level of growth is, it removes ambiguity. And I see so much ambiguity in leadership with people, by the way, not being clear on what the business is trying to achieve, not being clear on the feedback for the individual, not being clear on what the budget is. And
in a small business, that's also right because you often just you're just getting in and doing what you have to do and you're working in the business as opposed to on it a lot of the time in the early doors, right? But I'm very much also what I notice is when you let your people kind of sometimes learn by making mistakes or learn by doing, then that's great because that's how they're learning as opposed to controlling it all. And again, it's different when you are your back is against the wall and you're financially stressed and you wonder if your business is going to survive. That's when the controlling side, if you can come out more. Whereas in a position when you kind of, the business is going along well, you've got really good financial support and everything's sort of ticking along, you don't have to be because things can kind of go AWOL a bit and you can learn from it and chat and,
Yes. Thanks for listening and apologies for the interruption. I wanted to share with you that this show is one that we, the team, collectively pour a lot of effort into. There's resources that are involved. We have producers, promoters, and wonderful guests that share their time with us so that you may learn and possibly, hopefully, make some impact on the world as a result of that learning. The only thing I ask of you is go and check out my website. There's a diagnostic tool on there. There's a free downloadable chapter of my upcoming book, remarkably called 2 Commas. And there is some other fascinating resources that I'm not going to tell you about because you need to go to the website to check them out. So thanks for listening and please continue enjoying the show. So you went, you had the aniscerobliss journey through cancer and then you went back into the business on a full-time basis. How far after that date did you start to explore the notion of selling the brand and the company?
2015 got diagnosed, 2016 diagnosed again. There was a clusterfuck time, which is in my book, where my mum got diagnosed with leukemia in 2014. I got diagnosed 2015, and then again in 2016. Dave's dad, Des, was also very involved in our business. He worked for us for many years, which was amazing, into his mid to late 70s. He died of bowel cancer in 2016. My mum died in 2016 and I got diagnosed right at that time for the second go. And then my sister-in-law a year later got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died within 3 months, leaving behind my 2 young nephews. So that was pretty challenging.
Brutal.
It's brutal. And in between that, from a business challenge, was we ended up on fair go over a gluten claim, which is a whole nother, which was horrific for someone, for me, who had so much transparency and authenticity around our brand, and we were being questioned and slandered all over TV. But I won't go too much into that. It will make me annoyed. So that all happened in the clusterfuck. So I suppose coming out of that in 2018, I said to my husband, maybe it's time, to start looking at exiting out of this business. It's something, even though I just loved the business, loved the brand, mostly loved the people and the family we'd created, I'd always wanted to do full circle. I always knew that we would be selling that business at some point and realizing the dream. Also, I never felt safe financially, even though the business was starting to do really, really well, making really good money. It's like, this could be taken away from me any day, And because we had so much financial hardship, I wanted that financial security in my life. So 2018, we were also, I say we were becoming quite a sexy brand. We peaked, we on the data, we were at the top. All our competitors that had come in behind us were trying to be us. It was a cool place to be. We were in a really good position, really strong financially, no debt in the business, becoming a brand that was big enough that we knew bigger players would want to buy. I had sniffs of people I heard rumours that we were, and then I got sort of approached by a few people to say we could be interested. I was like, man,
stars are all aligning.
We cannot ignore this.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you engage an advisor at that stage, or did you just pick up the phone and kind of talk to these people that had sniffed around?
So what's really interesting is we hadn't ever had an advisory board.
No board. Wow.
No. I had, friends in the industry, Diane, supportive, who ended up being on our advisory boards, but for a very short period of time because we sold. And then my friend Yo, who's a successful businesswoman, so not an advisor, but someone I could talk to about business. And, I felt like I had quite a lot of support. But no, we did not have an official advisory board. I think being a husband-wife team too, and then we had our few people at work that we trusted. So we thought, okay, let's look at putting together an IM and just...
We'll do that ourselves.
Yeah.
We've done everything else ourselves. So Dave went ahead and started putting together an IM about, he was incredible with all the numbers and the projections and what it could look like. And then I'm the one with all the passion and brand, and potential new products and all that sort of thing. So I think it was January 2019, and we're sitting with our advisory team. There was 3 of them, and we'd had like two or three advisory meetings. And I was like, right, summer's through. We're gonna give it a go. We're gonna see what pops up. So we had 4 or 5 people that we knew were quite interested. So we contacted them. Just jumping back a step there, if I may. So what was the thought process around who to approach?
A couple that had sort of approached me and been sort of in chats with me about openly saying we wanted to purchase you. And then a couple of others that we just thought, they'd be in the market, we should let them know.
Okay.
I was very much, this is not going to be a stressful, of course it was, but I'm not going to go to market and spend the year in and out of, due diligence, right? So that was all happening, and we were just ticking along and still working hard and putting together that. And then off I went to a breast cancer fundraising event that a friend had put on. And I got chatting to a woman, Gisette, who was the managing director or general manager of Tasty Foods. We got chatting and at the event, and she's like, okay, I'd love to come and see you sometime. I was like, yeah, come and have a look at the factory. And amazing woman. So anyway, didn't really think anything of it. And off she came. She came round. We were sitting in our little boardroom at Pure Delish and chatting away. And she's like, we want to buy your business.
So at this stage, she hadn't received the IM, and you hadn't mentioned to her you were looking to sell?
She'd obviously heard
it's a small
on
industry.
The golf course or something. And we went, oh, okay.
It happens to be an IM, just, take a little slide across the desk. Here's something I prepared earlier.
So we were like, okay, yeah, we will, yes, we are interested, and yes, we are looking at selling the business. And she said, yeah, I've kind of heard. So she said, come back to me, tell us what you want for it.
Oh, she said to you, okay.
And she goes, go away and talk to Simon. And I said, cool. One of the criteria straight off, she was like, if we do this deal, you can't go to market. You can't go to your other people and try and,
play one off against the other.
Play the game.
Mm.
I was like, cool, okay. think about it. So one is, I really like Gisette, New Zealand owned operated company. Yes, they're a bigger corporate to us, but still, some good strong synergies there. And 2 is, I was exhausted from everything that we'd been through, and I didn't need to go through a long process of a whole bunch of people fighting and to buy the business and coming back and forth with pricing. So I thought, Dave and I, all right, let's put a good price because they were like, you tell us. So we put this price on the table and came back and said, okay.
Without asking the specifics on the number, because I know that you didn't want to share that, did you value it based upon a revenue multiple, or was it an EBIT multiple? How did you come up with that number? Or was it this is what it would take it for us to walk away number?
A bit of all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew we got more for the business than what most brands would for that space for our turnover. I think we're turning over close to 9 million. And I think you get anywhere from 3 to 9 probably in that industry.
As an EBIT multiple?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On your profit. And we were doing some good profit. So yeah, I believe we got a lot more than we would even today. But I think it was fair. I think it was really fair, and it was enough for us to choose if we wanted to retire or not. And I felt pretty bloody excited. So, and they didn't question.
Wow. So you went, this is the number?
Yeah.
And here's the IM. So you've got all of the financial information.
Not much yet.
Bits. Okay. Right. You've probably got some projections on where the business could go.
All of that.
And I'm imagining that you probably did the whole, this is why the acquisition would make sense to you, to Tasty, as in you slotted the brand strategy.
I think they'd already decided that they wanted it anyway.
They just wanted you. Okay. Wow. Mm.
They'd seen the brand grow.
Yes.
They knew who I was. They knew the success we'd had in the super premium space. And they were in a bit of a buy-up phase, I think, of wanting to, their strategy is to buy some good, strong New Zealand super premium brands, because Tasty is a great brand, but it's not in the super premium space, right?
No, it's mass market, right?
Yeah. So they wanted that. And it made sense to them as well, with probably also the fact that they're traders and they could see where they could save a lot of costs and
eke out some margin. Yep.
But the brand came into it a lot, I really believe. So anyway, and I think they knew there was some other people wanting to buy, and there was a little bit of a niggle over that. And I didn't make a couple of people happy, because I think they felt they had a good shot at this business. But I was like, you know what? I didn't have to go through all of this. You imagine if we'd gone to market and said, okay, but we're going to go to market and just see who else can give us more. That could have taken a year. What I also said to Tasty was, this due diligence has to be done in 6 weeks.
So ordinarily, the process is 6 to 12 months, and then those that are at the longer duration of that, it's brutal. They said they're just 6 weeks. So let me just replay this, because this is an astounding story. So met, approached, we would like to buy your business. As it happens, we're interested in selling the business. What's your number? Here's the number. It's a big fucking number, right? Top end of the valuation range. And then they said, you can't go and talk to anyone else, which you said, cool, that's fine. This is the number, by the way. And then you also said, we need to get this deal done in 6 weeks. So this is all unheard of, right, in the M&A space. You probably know this now, having subsequently done the deal. And so how did they respond?
They said, okay, let's see what we can do.
Right, let's just give it a go.
I think we also knew that we were clean as a business. Like, you do have to make sure that there's no cobs in the closet, there's no ghosts sitting in the corners, And I think we'd run a really strong business, and it was uncomplicated because we had no other investors. We had $500,000 sitting in the bank, just in case one of the supermarkets didn't pay, and we were like, we didn't want to rely on banks for overdrafts. We've become so resilient in that front. Really proud of that. So it was easy in that sense. Still, due diligence and whatever they call when you put things up in the
data room.
In the data room, And I called that room Project Awesome, which is now, became an email, became a business, became a, the name of all sorts of things. That was the name of the data room. And that was pretty challenging times, because, I remember like 4 a.m, Dave and I were so excited after just, going, okay, conditional on, the due diligence, and then just seeing all the stuff coming through and us just going, shit, we have to get all this information. And we hadn't told any of our staff. We couldn't tell any of our staff. We had to I was like, we must keep business as usual. And that was part of what I said to Tacey. I said, I love my team and I will not will not go through months and months of this and not being able to be supporting and on my eyes on the business. It was too emotional. So we had to find all this information without telling anyone in our business.
Not even your head of finance.
Oh.
Wow. And
our accountant knew, of course,
yes,
but no one in the business, not our ops manager who had access in HR and had access to all this information. We had access to a lot of it because we were still, like you say, we were pretty much joint GMs. We didn't have a general manager. So we were pretty
hands-on.
Dave had access to a lot of information and then I had access to a lot of other information.
Right.
But it was still tough. You feel like being stripped naked, right? But nothing really, all went well. It was hard, but 6 weeks.
Wow, that's incredible.
And we completed it in 6 weeks.
And terms of the deal beyond that, I'm imagining it was a cash kind of walk away, or did you have an earn-out to go through?
No, Dave stayed on for 12 weeks.
Wow, that's also really super fast.
I walked away.
Unbelievable.
I said, I can't. Actually saying that, in the contract, it was like, Kaz will remain available for consulting, product development, if it works out between the two. And I did 1 or 2, and I just thought, I can't do this. I can't be part of something that's not mine anymore. Just didn't work for me.
So January, you made the decision that we're going to go out to market. And approximately when was this that you did the deal?
Money went into the bank on the 30th of April.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible as a story. And
These
so
dreams do come true.
They do. What I'd make that mean is that there was a lot of intention around it. You were an overnight success in 20 years. So you'd established a really strong position in the marketplace. You had a plan, which you went out and you executed. And so the universe listens to people with plans, I believe. And so the Tasty Buyer ultimately turned up in that world. And then you set some unrealistic, classic entrepreneur that set some unrealistic timeframes, and let's just do our best to meet those things and make it happen. And so that's what ultimately happened. In the book and publicly, you then had a bit of founder's remorse. Sold the business. What does it all mean? Where do I go from here? That's
right. So obviously it was one of the hardest, it was very hard selling, my third child.
Yes.
And again, it's the people, because I am someone who is very strongly connected to my people in a business or anyone, my friendships, my loved ones. If you're in my club, you're in my club. And that, I remember the day we had to tell our staff, we had 36, I think, at the time, and one of them called out and said, is this an April Fool's joke? Because we told them on the 1st of April. They were devastated. Everyone was crying. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. So that's partly why I wrote the book, to kind of, to...
See, by the way, The Serial Entrepreneur with a C. I love that title, by the way.
Thank you. I wrote that through COVID, but it was also, again, on my list of I want to write a book about my journey for healing, for just also to have there for future generations, just to see what cool things, Nana, great Nana, whatever did, and just to put it down on paper. So I literally just wrote it myself in my own words.
No ghostwriter. I presume you had an editor go through it afterwards.
Literally, they just checked for spelling. They wanted to make a few changes. I said, no, I'm not changing anything.
Did you self-publish or did you have a publisher?
Self-published pretty much, and then had someone who helped me distribute the book. But it wasn't about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't about
selling lots of copies. Yeah.
It was about anyone who just wants one to read about Kaz and her journey.
Yes.
Give them away to anyone who wants them. It was about that, and it was great. I loved it. So yes, sold the business and moved to Matakana, a beautiful place up there, and a bit of a late midlife. and we're still up there. We love it. And then, within a year of being up there, and I was kind of doing a bit of Kaz Project Awesome consulting, just philanthropically really, supporting mainly women in business and having fun with that. Also a little bit of frustration with that, thinking, you can lead a horse to water, but unless you're in there getting shit done, how much value are you adding? Kind of that vibe, because I'm also a grassroots kind of get it shit done kind of entrepreneur. So met Amber, our ex-business partner at the markets, or got introduced by someone, and I saw this amazing range of fermented products that she had brought to market, because in actual fact she had ulcerative colitis.
Ulcerative colitis.
Yes, and she found her way to healing through fermented products.
Right, amazing.
Yeah, and so that was really cool. And just a mum with a couple of kids, and I was like, wow, one is it's a great product. It's right on market. Gut health is becoming more and more known. People are understanding it, and I could change this woman's life.
And how did that go?
It started off quite well, but a lot more work than I ever envisaged for both Dave and I, because we knew what to do. Whereas Amber was, the passionate, very creative person, and obviously amazing at creating these products, and a great photographer, and she'd had a lot of experience in that world, but no entrepreneurial experience. So COVID hit, COVID was going on, then it got really bad, and that caused a lot of stress for everybody. Yeah, and then at the end of 22, I think, at the end of 22, it all fell over, which was, devastating. But there was no other way forward. So we ended up taking over the business full time. We'd put in all the investment, all the money. We had all the experience, all the intel. Even if we'd given it away, it wouldn't have survived.
Pure Delish was a soul founding journey, which ultimately then Dave, your husband, became involved in. And then, so it was like your business, but with some support from Dave. And then you went into a business partnership with someone that you didn't have a long-term relationship with. What have you now learned about business partnerships as opposed to the soul founding journey?
One is, it's very difficult to be in a partnership. One is when you've spent all your life as an entrepreneur doing it your way. I think there are some very successful partnerships. I think what's challenging and what I've learned, and I see clearly now, is that when you want to get involved with someone with a startup, they're a startup. They know nothing about business. And no disrespect, they just don't. And potentially see it with rose-colored glasses and not really understanding what's really required. And it's not for everyone. And I see, be careful what you wish for. Whereas you and an experienced entrepreneur, you've been there, done it all. One is you've got to go back and do it all. I kind of had this thought that I'd just be like an advisor and a motivator and a mentor and just be part of this amazing growing empire. I just had my, rose-colored glasses on. So I've learned a lot in that journey. A lot. One is, actually I know a shitload. But do I want to do the mahi? Yeah, it's been a really interesting time. But yeah, I would say you've got to be very, very cautious. Very cautious about going into partnership.
Yeah. I've done both, soul founding and co-founding, in one case with two others. And what I've learned is that if there's real clarity and delineation of role, that's like an absolutely super critical component to get right. That way you stick to your lanes, and then you have forums that you come together and you talk about business performance and you make decisions, and then you go back to your lanes again and don't meddle in each other's lanes. I had a business partner once who just couldn't resist meddling the whole time, and he drove us absolutely bonkers, crazy.
And money, right? Like, what about the money piece? The elephant in the room, right? Like that
got to talk about it regularly, got to be clear on
And if one of
expectation
you's
setting.
controlling the money, then that's also challenging because when you're not equally bringing in the money, which was in our case.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Mm.
Yeah.
The second thing is the alignment of expectations and regularly having those conversations again. As if you've been in business with someone for, say, more than 5 years, situations and circumstances can change quite markedly over that time frame. Someone might come into some money, the business might start succeeding, and then you might go, well, we set this business up with the intention of selling it for, I'm just going to make a number up, $10 million at the outset, and then the business starts to succeed, and then all of a sudden it might be worth $30 million or $50 million or $100 million, and then that takes a different path and a lot longer to get there, and a different type of commitment and probably a different set of skills as well. So I believe in revisiting those expectations, not every week, but at least annually, kind of go, is this where we're going? Is this what we want from the business? Being clear that the shareholders, the founders' objectives actually control the vision, which informs the strategy.
And who is the founder and what is their experience and what are they capable of and do they truly understand what's involved? You know, all these things which we learned a hard lesson. And you know what? It's just what it is. It's nobody's fault. It's just what happened. And we ended up with a business that we didn't necessarily want. Right? I mean, Wildly is an incredible brand.
Tell us more about Wildly.
Yes, so we're a fermenting brand. So we wild ferment everything. So probiotic sparkling water kefir, wellness shots made with live cultured probiotics water, and then we add ingredients like, you know, turmeric and ginger and L-theanine and blueberry and all those amazing things. And we also do sauerkraut and kimchi, which are in all live, you know, wild fermented. So we don't add any lab cultures. We let them all be created themselves. That takes weeks and weeks. But we're real, we're alive, we're authentic, and we're bringing that to mainstream. And so the product itself is good. We've done a lot of new development on the product since we took over full time to make it more stable, more suitable for selling in you know, higher volumes. But we're still, you know, you come to our factory and we're, you know, just a fermentary. You know, it's amazing. And we're bringing out new products and, you know, we're in all the, you know, a lot of the supermarkets now, and online's a big presence for us. So that's another very new thing for our brand, which Pure Delish didn't have. So we are 30% of our revenue is D2C, direct to consumer, which is incredible. So I'm learning a lot on that journey. And also it's building our brand. Right? I mean, after this conversation, whoever's got their phones in here, you know, it's going to be binging with Wildly.
Yes.
Which is cool, building that brand online through, you know, social media, organic content, but also through all the advertising, which is what my son is a genius at.
So Vision 1, Pure Delish, you created the super premium category for cereals and then the other things that were associated around that, the brand extensions that you had. And now you're doing it again with live fermented products and food. I'm a fan of kimchi and some of those fermented things that you've mentioned, but I wouldn't associate them with wholesale, you know, mainstream supermarket kind of thing. It's much more boutique-y in nature. So you're doing it again. You like doing hard things, it would seem.
I like doing hard things. I like doing hard things, and I believe in the product and what it does for people, which makes it easier, you know, like it truly is a product that can transform your life from a health point of view. And I say to people, just try it. Like, I can tell you everything it might do for or might not do for you, but just give it a go, integrate it into your diet on a daily basis, and then give us a review or let us know. So, you know, if you jump on our website, and these are authentic reviews, we have about 500 now in a very short time of people just telling us the transformation for them. But they also taste great. Once you understand the flavor profile, it takes away your sweet. You don't want sweet anymore. It's really what I've found. I mean, I suffered irritable bowel syndrome for good 20 years of my life, which I would say is stress related. Absolutely, which is probably where yours came from, potentially. And in the last sort of, what must be coming up 5 years since we've started the brand, and I've, just snort the products, I would say 90% better. And that's just from going, I'm not taking that medication anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not, just over time going, wow, my tummy is, things are great. So that's what I say to people. And then bring them in and have fun with them. And,
Right.
and alcohol alternative, our water kefir is naturally sparkling. It's like a beautiful, naturally sparkling, super dry, highly delicious drink mix, or just drink it on its own, or,
They describe the gut as the second brain, and the microbiome, I believe there's one in our mouth as well. I've known about the gut one for many years. My understanding of the fermented food is that it's incredibly good for developing and maintaining your microbiome. Is that kind of the main
Correct.
side effect? And so people are, feeling better in their processing environment. So they're processing food better, they're extracting more nutrients from it, they're probably sleeping better, I'm imagining.
And
More
that's
energy.
it. Like, I don't want to be on that wagon of a fast fix.
Right, you don't want to be a snake oil
It's
sales.
not who I am, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, see for yourself. I mean, I've had many, bizarrely enough, women, and often older women, write in and say, oh my God, I've had my husband on the sauerkraut for the last month. They just pop it in his meal every night or in his salad, and God, his indigestion, his heartburn, it's just disappeared. And I'm like, isn't that lovely? How fabulous. Things like that. Or, I've been, drinking the water kefir now, and, instead of having wine every night, I'm having a water kefir, or I'm mixing my water kefir with a bit of gin instead of the tonic with all the stuff. And I've really noticed a difference. I really noticed my stomach's more settled, or I'm not getting those spikes of sugar, or,
Yes.
that's what's so amazing about the product, is it will change your life from a health point of view, but it's just bloody good.
Yes. We mentioned off camera that we're doing Dry July. We tend to go month on, month off from a indulgence standpoint.
Love it.
So we're going to order some water kefir. I've not had the product before. I'm
Well-
looking forward to giving it a taste.
We've got a new one coming out shortly, water kefir, passion fruit, mango and lime,
Oh, delicious.
and it's purple.
Yes.
Hasn't come to market, but it's coming. I'll send you some samples. It's, because it has to be dry. So it isn't a sweet, a lot of kombuchas or a lot of other drinks, they're quite sweet.
I agree.
These are very dry, like 0.5 grams of sugar per serve.
Oh, well, it's nothing.
No.
Mm.
But people become addicted to it. Then it's interesting how fermented food and drinks change your palate, and you don't crave the sugar anymore.
Okay.
It's really interesting. We also do a botanical shrub, which is like not fermented, but it's macerated apple aged cider vinegar with fruits. And people often put a lot of that with the water kefir, make it like a nice mocktail or a
delicious.
cocktail.
Yes.
And that adds that little bit of sweet savoury with apple cider vinegar, or people have a shot of it as a digestive.
Yes.
But it's pretty cool being bringing out an amazing range of products that are actually, benefiting people's health pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is an explicit thing for you, but I was curious as to if there was a mission that Kaz was on now. Is it to introduce people? I mean, it's been there consistently for you if it was the same thing when you first started Karen's Kitchen. So is it to bring people awareness and, health and vitality through food? Could that be your mission?
Yes. Yeah. I think bringing better quality products to mainstream, which is still so hard, because we all look at price on a supermarket shelf and compare it to the product next to it, instead of going, actually, why is this product higher priced? What are the reasons? And it's hard to do that just on a label, which is where now we have social media, we have that space and all sorts, podcasts, YouTube, everything, where we can really, people can learn quicker and faster than a supermarket, right?
Yes.
So, that is a mission. But I think the essence of business for me is an incubator for learning, an incubator for seeing others grow and flourish, just is my why. honestly, that is it. Mostly, that other stuff is amazing, but the actual essence of business for me is that.
Funnily enough, mine is very similar. Having had the luxury of being able to ponder deeply on my own purpose, established it over a period of years, and it is to grow great people so that together we may make a difference in the world.
I will say one thing though, which I think is really important, is you must feel good, and you must, as your ultimate goal is to make money and have a profitable business. And that's where this conversation can, because yes, that's my why, but I can only do that if I have a successful business. So we need to embrace, and we need to encourage and make it, particularly for Kiwis, because there's a lot of tall poppy, and we sort of, business makes really good money. Well, if it makes really good money, oh my goodness, the things you can do. The things, you can pay your staff more, you can do more fun things, you can give back to the world, you can be philanthropic, you can, that's where the capitalist and commercialism side is so beneficial.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Profit should be a motivator, but it should never be the primary motivator, because if you put profit before all other things, then it can create inducements or behavior which is not really, a great human being way to live.
No.
Yeah.
But without profit, we can't have a business that's going to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that really is important.
Yes.
Because, man, if you're not profitable in this market,
You're dead.
or, it's a tough market out there, right? And I just went to the Fine Food Show on Sunday. It's been a day there, saying hi and meeting lots of friends and business acquaintances in in this industry. But the overall consensus was like, yeah, it's tough out there. We're looking forward to getting through this. It's harder than what I think a lot of people realise.
Yeah, I agree with that. In the entrepreneur circles in which we move, the honesty, if when people are prepared to have it, is that it's been brutal and far worse than the GFC, which was my last kind of, deep recessionary experience. And it's kind of like 92, 90 to 92 kind of experience.
Coming off the back of COVID
Yeah.
as well, which was an incredible, people came off that unresilient, a lot of carnage, and a lot of success in business, but a lot of shit, and then into a recession with it feels like it's been years, hey, before anyone's really getting excited about
Yes.
good times ahead.
Yeah. The last 5 years have been incredibly unusual in business, and for so many folk in so many different ways. It's been actually patently unfair. I've got friends in the hospitality trade, I'm sure you do as well, and that's been just brutal for them.
Yeah, I just feel so grateful. Oh my goodness. Thank my lucky stars every day that we're in a financially strong position where we can ride out this storm without, really a care in the world. I care about others, and our business wildly is, we're doing well, and we can do a lot better moving forward. We're in a growth phase, which means you just keep chipping. But if we were in a position we were financially stretched, we'd be a lot more stressed out. So yeah, I feel so grateful in one aspect, and then so sad for so many others. And I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I could just see so many great businesses just going into administration, or that you're like, no, can we just keep it going another year or two?
Yeah, the food space has been particularly badly affected.
Yeah, has been actually, you're right. Yeah. Anyway, it's a phase, it's a season, and the strong shall survive.
They all get strong along the way. Kaz, we've talked about a range of different things. Is there any subject that we haven't explored yet that you'd like to delve into?
No, I think we've touched on some pretty important aspects, of my life and of the business journey. I mean, you could talk all day, right?
Easily.
And
a couple of extroverts and a couple of microphones would be here all day. There's an alternate universe in which there's another Kaz. She's got a different career. She's not the food-based entrepreneur. What is that career, and what would she spend her time and mission directed towards?
You know what? On a crazy note, I always thought real estate would be cool.
Cool. Developing or selling or both?
All of it.
Yeah.
But just selling real estate. I love beautiful things. I love interior design. I love homes. I love that whole process of buying and selling. I think I would have been an incredibly good real estate agent and done well in that space. And you've got to be self-motivated and driven. I love people. I love selling. The other side would be just, inspiring people in whatever way that is. Again, just bringing out the best in others. And so I think probably similar to what I've done. But if it wasn't in business of my own, it would be maybe in, self-development and just in that space of just, supporting people to be the best version that they can be.
Yes. I think writing a book, The Serial with a C, Entrepreneur, is available not in all good booksellers because it's actually sold out in a few places.
Been around
you self-published and
but it was in bookstores, But you can get it online or just contact me and I can send anyone a copy if they want one.
Great.
Just kaz@wildly.co.nz.
Thank you, Kaz. I'm really grateful for you coming on the show and sharing your experience, the highs, the lows, the grittiness, the difficulties that you've had along the journey. And I wish you the best for Wildly in the future. And I look forward to trying some of the products. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great. And I look forward to getting you to become a Wildly addict as well as a Pure Delish addict.
100%.
And
the track record's strong, so it's likely to happen.
You look pretty fit and healthy, so I don't know if I can improve on that.
Yeah, well, I think we would all improve, wouldn't we?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Every day is a new day to be better, right?
Exactly, agree with that. Yeah. Thanks, Kaz.
Thank you.
If you enjoy these episodes, I hope you do. I love filming them, and the guests always say what a great and often cathartic experience it is for them. Then please do like and share. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm open to connect requests, and occasionally get emails from people as well asking me about my experience around certain subjects. So please do like and share, and continue to follow the show. I really appreciate your ears.